I stood alone in the center of my dream home, surrounded by flickering candles and untouched platters of food that nobody would eat. The Victorian house I had saved 8 years to buy felt cavernous and cold, despite the warm lighting I had carefully arranged. My phone buzzed against the marble kitchen counter, and my mother's message appeared on the screen like a punch to the gut. "We need to talk now." Every family member I had invited to celebrate this milestone had chosen my brother Derek's last-minute apartment gathering instead, leaving me completely abandoned. The silence in my house was deafening. I walked through each room, past the handcrafted party decorations I had spent weeks creating, past the catered spread from Derek's favorite Italian restaurant that cost me $400, past the personalized gift bags containing photo albums of our family memories that I had assembled with such hope and excitement. My marketing career had finally reached the level where I could afford this beautiful home in the Portland suburbs. Every detail had been planned to perfection. The invitation cards were hand-lettered on cream-colored cardstock, mailed 3 weeks in advance with RSVP requests. I had received enthusiastic responses from everyone: my parents, Patricia and William, my younger brother Derek, my sister Amanda, even my grandmother Rose, and various cousins. But as 7 o'clock came and went, then 8, then 9, my phone remained silent except for that one cryptic text from my mother. I started calling family members one by one, listening to voicemails and busy signals. Finally, I made the mistake of opening Instagram. There they were, all of them laughing and toasting in Derek's cramped studio apartment across town. My brother held up a beer while my father clapped him on the shoulder. My mother was cutting a grocery store cake with "Congrats, Derek" written in blue frosting. Amanda was taking selfies with our cousins. Everyone looked genuinely happy to be there. The caption under Derek's post read, "So grateful for family who shows up when you need them most. New chapter starting in my bachelor pad." I called my mother immediately. She answered on the 5th ring, her voice tight and defensive. "Juliana, we need to discuss this situation like adults." "What situation? You all promised to come to my housewarming and then disappeared to Derek's place without even telling me." "Your brother is going through a difficult time with his divorce. He needed family support tonight more than you needed a party." The words stung like ice water. "More than I needed support, Mom, I bought my first house. This is the biggest accomplishment of my life." "You're successful, honey. You don't need validation the way Derek does. He's fragile right now." Fragile. The same word they had used when Derek's high school graduation dinner was canceled because he had a minor football injury. The same excuse when my college acceptance celebration was postponed because Derek had a job interview. The same justification for why family gatherings always revolved around Derek's needs, Derek's problems, Derek's emotional state. "I saved for 8 years for this house, Mom. I wanted to share this moment with my family." "Don't be dramatic. We can come see the house another time. Derek only gets one chance to start over after his marriage ended." I hung up and sat on my custom-built window seat looking out at the garden I had already started planning. My father called back within minutes. "Juliana, your mother is upset. Derek really needed us tonight." And I didn't. "You're strong. You've always been the independent one. Derek has always been more sensitive." More sensitive. Another family code word that meant Derek's feelings mattered more than mine. My sister Amanda left a voicemail around 10:30. "Hey, I know you're probably mad, but Derek was really struggling tonight. He was talking about feeling like a failure, and you know how he gets. We couldn't just leave him alone. Your house will still be there tomorrow." I turned off all the lights and blew out the candles. The expensive catered food went into the refrigerator untouched. The gift bags sat by the front door like abandoned children. As I climbed the stairs to my new bedroom, I realized this wasn't just about one missed party. This was about 32 years of being the reliable daughter, the one who didn't require special attention, the one whose achievements were expected rather than celebrated. But something felt different this time. Maybe it was owning my own space, having my own sanctuary that nobody could take away from me. Maybe it was the clarity that came from standing completely alone in a house I had earned through my own hard work. I wasn't going to let this slide anymore. I barely slept that night, my mind racing with memories of every family event that had been sacrificed for Derek's latest crisis. By morning, I had made a decision. I was going to get answers. I initiated a video call to the family group chat at 10 in the morning, knowing they would all likely be nursing hangovers from their celebration. One by one, their faces appeared on my laptop screen, all looking uncomfortable and avoiding direct eye contact. Derek appeared last, his hair disheveled, sitting in what I now noticed was an expensive black leather gaming chair. Behind him, I could see a large, flat-screen television and what looked like professional recording equipment. "Good morning, everyone," I said, my voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath the surface. "I think we need to talk about last night." My mother immediately went on the defensive. "Juliana, we've already explained the situation. Derek was having a mental health crisis and family comes first." Mental health crisis. I focused on Derek, who was dramatically rubbing his temples. "You look pretty comfortable for someone in crisis." "The divorce has been really hard on me," he said, his voice taking on that familiar whiny tone he had perfected since childhood. "I'm struggling financially, emotionally. I just needed family around me." Struggling financially. I laughed bitterly. "Derek, is that a new gaming setup behind you?" My cousin Rachel, who was barely visible in the corner of Amanda's screen, suddenly spoke up. "Oh, Derek, how do you like the new Tesla? The red one is so cool." The silence that followed was deafening. Derek's face went pale, and Amanda quickly tried to cover by talking louder. "Rachel, we're having a family discussion here." But it was too late. I had heard exactly what I needed to hear. New Tesla. I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. "I thought you were struggling financially." My Uncle Tom, always the worst at keeping secrets, chimed in from my father's side of the screen. "Well, his investment portfolio has been doing pretty well lately. That cryptocurrency thing really paid off for him." Derek shot Tom a look that could have killed. My mother's face flushed red with panic. "Now hold on." My father started, but I cut him off. "Investment portfolio, cryptocurrency. Derek, exactly how much money do you have?" Derek's performance shifted into overdrive. His eyes filled with tears, and his voice cracked. "Money isn't everything, Juliana. You can't buy happiness. You can't buy family love and support." "Answer the question. How much?" My mother finally snapped. "Fine, Derek made some good investments. He made about $200,000 in cryptocurrency over the past 2 years. But that doesn't mean he doesn't deserve family support." The number hit me like a physical blow. $200,000. While I had been working 60-hour weeks and eating ramen noodles to save for my house down payment, Derek had been sitting on a fortune and still playing the victim. $200,000, I repeated slowly, and you all felt sorry for him. "Money doesn't solve emotional problems," Amanda said weakly. "No, but it sure makes them easier to handle," I shot back. "How long have you all known about this?" The uncomfortable glances between family members told me everything I needed to know. They had all known. Every single one of them had participated in this deception. Derek started crying, actual tears streaming down his face. "I didn't want people to treat me differently because of money. I wanted to know that you all loved me for who I am." "So you lied." "I just didn't mention it." "You let me pay for your birthday dinner last month. You let Dad loan you money for car repairs. You complained about not being able to afford Christmas gifts." Derek's tears became more dramatic. "I was going to pay everyone back eventually. I just wanted to feel normal, feel loved." My grandmother Rose, who had been silent through the entire exchange, finally cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should discuss this privately as a family." "Privately?" I stared at her through the screen. "Grandmother, you knew too." Her silence was answer enough. One by one, family members started making excuses to leave the call. Derek had a sudden headache. Amanda remembered an appointment. My cousins claimed technical difficulties. Within 10 minutes, only my parents and I remained on the video chat. "Juliana." My mother said carefully, You need to understand that Derek has always needed more emotional support than you. Money doesn't change that. What it changes, I said, my voice shaking with fury, is that I've been the family ATM for years while Derek hoarded wealth and played victim. What it changes is that you all chose his fake crisis over my real celebration. It wasn't fake, my father protested. Derek's depression is real. His depression might be real, but his financial struggles certainly aren't, and neither is his need for family support more than mine. I ended the call and sat staring at my laptop screen for a long time. The house felt different now, like a fortress rather than a home. I had built this sanctuary with my own money, my own credit, my own sacrifice. Nobody had helped me. Nobody had even acknowledged the achievement until it was time to skip celebrating it. But as I sat there, a nagging feeling crept over me. Something about Derek's situation didn't add up. If he had $200,000, why was he still living in that cramped studio apartment? Why did he look genuinely stressed despite his financial success? I decided to do some investigating of my own. I spent the rest of Sunday morning scrolling through Derek's social media accounts with fresh eyes. Now that I knew about his cryptocurrency wealth, his posts took on a different meaning. Photos from expensive restaurants were tagged with locations, but never mentioned who paid. Pictures of luxury items were captioned vaguely, as if they were borrowed or gifts. Concert tickets, weekend trips, high-end electronics, all present but never directly claimed. Derek was careful I had to give him credit for that, but he wasn't careful enough. On Monday morning, I called my childhood friend Madison, who now worked as a manager at Pacific Northwest Bank. We met for coffee at our old hangout spot, a small cafe in downtown Portland that had somehow survived gentrification. Madison looked uncomfortable from the moment I brought up Derek's name. "Jules, I probably shouldn't be talking about this," she said, stirring her latte nervously. "Maddie, we've been friends since we were 7 years old. Something is wrong and I need to know what it is." She sighed deeply and looked around the cafe to make sure no one was listening. "Your brother has been in the bank a lot lately. Business loans, paperwork signatures." "Business loans for what?" "That's just it. He's had 4 different business ventures in the past 3 years. A restaurant, some kind of motorcycle dealership, vintage car flipping, and now he's trying to start a consulting company." My coffee suddenly tasted like ash. 4 businesses. What happened to them? They all failed within months. But here's the thing that's been bothering me. Madison leaned closer and lowered her voice. When he applied for the latest loan, something seemed off about the documentation. Off how? The credit check came back for someone with excellent credit, perfect payment history. But Derek's previous loan defaults should have tanked his score. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. Whose credit did it come back for? Madison's face told me everything before she said the words, "Yours, Juliana. The loans are in your name." The cafe spun around me. I gripped the edge of the table so hard my knuckles went white. "That's impossible. I never signed anything." "That's what I thought too, but I pulled the files this morning before meeting you." Madison reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. "These are copies. Technically, I could lose my job for showing you these." I opened the folder with trembling hands. There were 4 separate loan applications, each bearing my signature, my social security number, my credit information. The amounts were staggering: $23,000 for the restaurant, $18,000 for the motorcycle venture, $31,000 for the car business, and $15,000 for the consulting startup. $87,000 in total, all in my name, all with signatures that looked exactly like mine. "Madison, I never signed any of these documents. I never even knew about these businesses." "I was afraid of that." She pointed to one of the applications. "Look at the witness signatures." I looked where she was pointing and felt my world collapse completely. Patricia Johnson, my mother's signature as witness. William Johnson, my father's signature as witness, on every single loan application. And they witnessed these signatures. My voice came out as a whisper. "According to the paperwork, yes, Your parents verified that you were present and willing to co-sign for Derek's business ventures. I stared at the documents, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing. My parents hadn't just known about Derek's deception, they had actively participated in identity theft. They had forged my signature and then lied under oath to verify the forgery. Madison, what happens when these loans default? They already have. 3 of the 4 businesses are completely defunct. Derek stopped making payments 8 months ago. What does that mean for me? It means your credit is destroyed. It means you're legally responsible for $87,000 in debt that you didn't know existed. It means... She paused, looking sick. Jules, this could affect your mortgage. I thought about my dream house, the place I had worked so hard to afford. The mortgage application had been tight, requiring every penny of my savings for the down payment and closing costs. How badly is my credit damaged? Bad enough that if your mortgage lender runs a new credit check for any reason, you could be in serious trouble. I closed the folder and handed it back to Madison. I need copies of everything. Jules, if you're thinking about pressing charges, I'm thinking about survival. My brother stole my identity, my parents helped him do it, and my family abandoned me while covering up their crimes. Madison nodded slowly. I'll get you copies, but please be careful. This is a big mess, and once you start pulling threads, the whole thing is going to unravel. As I walked back to my car, I realized the unraveling had already begun. The question now was whether I would be the one left standing when everything fell apart. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. Hey sis, can we talk? I feel like there's some tension in the family right now. I stared at the message for a long moment before typing back, yes, we definitely need to talk. But first I had some research to do. If Derek had stolen my identity, once I needed to know how deep this conspiracy went. And if my parents were willing to commit fraud to protect him, I needed to understand exactly what I was up against. The drive home to my beautiful house felt different now. Instead of a sanctuary, it felt like something precarious, something that could be taken away because of crimes I didn't even know had been committed in my name. But as I pulled into my driveway and looked at the Victorian home I had sacrificed everything to afford, I felt something stronger than fear. I felt fury. And for the first time in my life, I was ready to fight back against my family's manipulation. Tuesday morning brought the call I had been dreading since my conversation with Madison. My phone rang at 8:47 while I was getting ready for work, and the caller ID showed Pacific Northwest Bank. Miss Johnson, this is Jennifer Martinez from the mortgage department. We need to schedule an emergency meeting regarding your home loan. My hands went cold. What kind of emergency? There have been some changes to your credit profile that trigger an automatic review of your mortgage terms. Can you come in this afternoon? Inidinas. I called in sick to work and spent the morning preparing for the worst. By 2 o'clock, I was sitting across from Jennifer in a sterile conference room, watching her spread documents across the table, like evidence at a crime scene. Miss Johnson, I'm going to be direct with you because this situation is serious. Your credit score has dropped from 791 to 512 in the past 8 months. The number hit me like a physical blow. 512! The primary factor is multiple defaulted loans totaling $87,000. These defaults have triggered what's called a mortgage review clause in your loan agreement. Jennifer opened a thick folder and pulled out a calculator. Your original mortgage rate of 3.2% was based on excellent credit. With your current score, the adjusted rate would be 7.9%. She started typing numbers, and I watched my financial life crumble in real time. Your current monthly payment is $2,400. With the new rate, that payment becomes $4,100. $4,000. I couldn't finish the sentence. Miss Johnson, can you afford an additional $1,600 per month? The honest answer was no. Even with my marketing salary, an extra $1,600 would consume my entire discretionary income, and then some. What happens if I can't make the new payments? Jennifer's expression was sympathetic but professional. The bank would begin foreclosure proceedings. You would have 60 days to bring the account current or arrange refinancing with another lender. Refinancing with this credit score would be extremely difficult. Most lenders won't approve mortgages with scores below 600. I sat in stunned silence watching my dream home slip away because of crimes I had never committed. Is there any way to dispute the credit damage? If the debts were fraudulent, you would need to file police reports and begin identity theft proceedings, but that process can take months or years to resolve. And in the meantime, the bank operates under current credit information. I left the bank feeling like I had been hit by a truck. My phone started ringing before I even reached my car. Derek's name flashed on the screen. "Juliana, we really need to talk. I heard you've been asking questions about my business ventures." "Your business ventures?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean my business ventures since they're all in my name?" The silence stretched long enough that I thought the call had dropped. "Derek, are you there?" "Look, I can explain everything. It's not what you think. What I think is that you stole my identity, forged my signature, and destroyed my credit. What I think is that Mom and Dad helped you do it. Juliana, you have to understand I was desperate. The divorce was expensive and I needed capital to start over. So you decided to steal mine. I was going to pay it all back. The crypto investments were supposed to cover everything. I just needed time." Time. "Derek, it's been 3 years, and you've had $200,000 sitting in cryptocurrency while I'm about to lose my house." "You won't lose your house. I won't let that happen." "How exactly are you going to stop it? The bank wants $60,000 in immediate payments to prevent foreclosure." Again, silence. "Derek, I don't have that much liquid cash right now. The crypto is tied up in long-term investments." "Then liquidate it." "It's complicated. There are penalties for early withdrawal tax implications." I hung up on him. My phone immediately rang again, this time with my mother's number. "Juliana, Derek told me about your conversation. We need to handle this as a family." "Handle what? The identity theft, the fraud, the forgery?" "Don't use those words. Derek made some mistakes, but he's family." "Mom, you witnessed forged signatures. You committed crimes." "I was protecting my son. Derek was falling apart after the divorce. He needed help." "So you decided to destroy my credit and put my house at risk?" "We thought you were strong enough to handle it. You've always been the responsible one." The circular logic was making me dizzy. Because I was responsible, they felt justified in making me responsible for Derek's irresponsibility. "Mom, I could go to prison for debts I didn't sign for. I could lose everything because of what you and Derek did." "Prison?" Her voice went shrill. "Nobody's going to prison. We're going to work this out as a family." "How?" "Derek will pay back what he can, and we'll figure out payment plans for the rest." "With what money? He just told me his crypto investments are locked up." Silence. "Mom, well, maybe you could refinance somewhere else. With a credit score of 512, nobody will refinance this mortgage. Then maybe you could sell the house and find something smaller." The suggestion felt like a knife to the heart. Sell my dream house. Give up everything I had worked for because my family had committed crimes in my name. I saved 8 years for this house. "And you can save again. You're young. You have a good job." I hung up on her too. That evening, I sat in my living room researching bankruptcy attorneys and identity theft lawyers. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was looking into legal protections against my own family. My phone buzzed with texts throughout the night. Derek promising to fix everything. My father explaining that family loyalty went both ways. Amanda suggesting I was overreacting. Even my grandmother Rose sending a message about forgiveness and understanding. But none of them offered to actually solve the problem. None of them had a plan to restore my credit or save my house. They just wanted me to absorb the consequences of their choices the way I always had. As I fell asleep in my master bedroom, surrounded by the home I had worked so hard to afford, I realized something important had shifted. For the first time in my life, I wasn't interested in being the family peacemaker. I wasn't willing to sacrifice my future to protect their feelings. Tomorrow, I was going to start fighting back. Wednesday morning brought an unexpected visitor. I was drinking coffee and preparing for another difficult day when my doorbell rang at 7:30. Through the peephole, I saw Amanda standing on my front porch, looking nervous and checking her phone repeatedly. "Juliana, we need to talk," she said as soon as I opened the door. "The whole family is worried about you." Worried about me? You've been making accusations threatening legal action. Mom is having panic attacks. I stared at my sister, wondering if she actually believed what she was saying or if this was another manipulation tactic. "Amanda, are you aware that Derek stole my identity?" Derek made some poor financial decisions, but calling it identity theft is extreme. He forged my signature on loan documents. He said you gave him permission to use your credit. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos Madison had sent me of the loan applications. "Do these look like documents I signed?" Amanda barely glanced at them. "Look, I don't understand all the financial details, but I know Derek is struggling and I know you're successful enough to weather this storm." Weather what storm? Losing my house, destroying my credit, going bankrupt because of crimes I didn't commit. "You're being dramatic. Dad says you can work out payment plans." "With money I don't have for debts I never agreed to take on." Amanda's phone buzzed and she glanced at it quickly. "Juliana, the family is having an intervention this afternoon at Mom's house. We think you need professional help." "Professional help for what?" "You've been acting paranoid, making wild accusations against family members who love you. Mom thinks you might be having some kind of breakdown." The audacity took my breath away. A breakdown. The stress of the new housework pressure may be some underlying mental health issues. It happens to successful women sometimes. "Amanda, are you seriously trying to gaslight me into thinking I'm crazy?" "I'm trying to help you see that you're not thinking clearly. Derek showed us text messages where you agreed to help with his business loans." I felt ice water in my veins. "What text messages?" Amanda pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot. There was my name apparently texting Derek. "Of course I'll co-sign for your restaurant loan. Family helps family. Just handle the paperwork and I'll cover whatever you need." I stared at the fake message, my mind reeling. "Amanda, I never sent this text." "It's right here on Derek's phone." "It's fabricated. Anyone can create fake text conversations." "Juliana, listen to yourself. You're claiming Derek is sophisticated enough to forge documents and fake text messages. I'm claiming Derek is desperate enough to lie about anything to avoid consequences." Amanda put her phone away and looked at me with what appeared to be genuine concern. "The family intervention is at 3 o'clock. We've arranged for Dr. Sarah Mitchell to be there. She specializes in helping families through crisis situations. You hired a therapist to convince me I'm crazy. We hired a professional to help us communicate better." After Amanda left, I spent the morning researching Dr. Sarah Mitchell online. She was a real therapist, but her specialty seemed to be family reconciliation and conflict resolution. Her website emphasized healing relationships and moving past grievances. At exactly 3 o'clock, my phone started ringing. When I didn't answer, it rang again, then my house phone, then my work phone. Finally, my father called from his office line. "Juliana, you need to come to this meeting. The family is concerned about your mental state." "My mental state is fine. My credit score is destroyed, but my mental state is perfectly clear." Dr. Mitchell says that financial stress can trigger paranoid thinking in some people. "Dad, did you sign documents witnessing my signature on loan applications?" We were trying to help Derek get back on his feet. By committing fraud, by supporting family. "Juliana, you need to understand that Derek was suicidal after his divorce. We did what we had to do to save his life." The word suicidal hit me like a physical blow. This was new information, and it was clearly calculated for maximum emotional impact. Derek was suicidal. He called us crying one night, talking about ending it all. The next day, he came to us with a business plan that could save him. We couldn't let our son die because of paperwork technicalities. Paperwork technicalities. Dad, you're talking about identity theft. I'm talking about saving Derek's life with money you could afford to loan him. But I never agreed to loan it, because you would have said no and Derek would have killed himself. The conversation was spiraling into emotional manipulation territory, and I could feel myself getting pulled into the familiar pattern of family guilt. But something had changed in me. Instead of feeling responsible for Derek's emotional state, I felt angry about being held hostage by it. Dad, if Derek was genuinely suicidal, he needed professional mental health treatment, not business loans. He needed hope. He needed purpose. He needed therapy, not my credit score. I hung up and immediately called Madison at the bank. Madison, I need to know something. When Derek applied for these loans, did he provide any documentation of my consent? Just the witness signatures from your parents. No recorded phone calls, no signed authorization letters. Nothing like that. But Juliana, something else has come up. I got a call from the bank's legal department this morning. My stomach dropped. What kind of call? Someone contacted them claiming that the fraud accusations are false. They said you're having a mental health crisis and making false claims about family members. Someone called the bank to say I'm crazy. They said you had agreed to co-sign the loans but are now suffering from stress-related memory problems and paranoid thinking. I sat down hard on my kitchen stool. Who called? They wouldn't give me details, but they mentioned Dr. Sarah Mitchell as a reference for your current mental state. The pieces clicked into place. The family intervention, the fake text messages, the claims about my mental health. It was all coordinated. My family wasn't just covering up their crimes, they were actively trying to discredit my attempts to expose them. Madison, what does this mean for my case? It means the bank is going to be very careful about taking your fraud claims seriously. If there's any question about your mental competency, they'll assume the debts are legitimate. Exactly. I spent the rest of the afternoon documenting everything I could remember about the timeline of Derek's supposed business ventures. I researched the dates of his divorce, cross-referenced them with the loan applications, and started building a factual case that couldn't be dismissed as mental instability. But as evening approached, I realized my family was playing a much more sophisticated game than I had anticipated. They weren't just hiding Derek's crimes. They were systematically destroying my credibility as a witness against those crimes. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. Juliana, I know you're upset, but you're scaring Mom and Dad. They're talking about having you committed for evaluation if you don't start acting more rational. I stared at the message for a long time. The threat was clear: accept responsibility for Derek's debts or face forced psychiatric evaluation that could destroy my career and credibility permanently. For the first time since this whole nightmare began, I felt genuinely afraid. Not of losing money or even losing my house, but of losing my freedom and sanity to a family willing to go to any lengths to protect Derek from consequences. But fear I was discovering could be transformed into something much more powerful. As I sat in my living room surrounded by the home I had earned through honest work, I felt my resolve crystallize into something harder than diamond. They wanted to play dirty fine, but they had no idea what they had awakened in their formerly compliant daughter and sister. Thursday morning, I made a decision that would change everything. Instead of continuing to react to my family's moves, I was going to take control of the game entirely. I called in sick to work again and drove downtown to the office of Carmen Walsh, a private investigator Madison had recommended. Carmen was a former police detective who specialized in financial fraud cases. Her office was small but professional, with awards and certifications covering one wall. Miss Johnson, your friend Madison, filled me in on the basics. Identity theft within families is more common than people think, but it's also harder to prosecute because of the relationship dynamics. What do you need from me? Complete honesty about your family history and permission to dig deeper into your brother's finances. If he stole your identity, once there might be other things he's hiding. I spent 2 hours giving Carmen every detail I could remember about Derek's lifestyle, his claims of financial hardship, and the timeline of his various business ventures. She took notes and asked probing questions that I hadn't thought to consider. Miss Johnson, your brother, made $200,000 in cryptocurrency, but he's living in a studio apartment and claiming financial hardship. That suggests either gambling addiction or money laundering. Money laundering. People don't usually hoard wealth while living modestly unless they're hiding income for tax purposes or running scams that require liquid assets. Carmen's investigation took 3 days. When she called me Sunday evening, her voice was tight with excitement. Juliana, you need to come to my office first thing Monday morning. What I've found goes way beyond identity theft. Monday morning, Carmen spread a collection of documents across her conference table, like a detective solving a murder case. Your brother isn't just stealing identities. He's running romance scams targeting elderly women across multiple states. She showed me printouts of dating profiles featuring Derek's photos, but different names: Michael Thompson, David Rodriguez, James Anderson. Each profile claimed he was a recently widowed military veteran looking for companionship. He's been using these fake identities to court women between 65 and 80 years old. Look at these chat logs. The conversations made my stomach turn. Derek was playing the role of a lonely veteran who needed money for various medical emergencies: cancer treatment, surgery, complications, family crises, all designed to extract money from women who were grieving their own lost spouses. How much money are we talking about? So far, I've documented 12 victims across Florida, Texas, and Arizona. Total documented theft is approximately $350,000 over the past 18 months. I stared at the numbers, my mind struggling to process the scope of Derek's criminal operation. Carmen, how does this connect to my parents? She pulled out bank statements and transaction records. This is where it gets really interesting. Your parents' joint checking account has been receiving wire transfers from women matching the victim profile. The bank records showed deposits ranging from $5,000 to $25,000, always from women with names like Dorothy Henderson, Margaret Foster, and Helen Martinez. Your mother has been the point of contact for receiving money transfers. She's listed as Derek's sister-in-law on the paperwork handling funds while he's supposedly deployed overseas. My mother is actively participating in romance scams. Not just participating. Look at these phone records. Carmen showed me call logs between Patricia's number and numbers belonging to Derek's victims. Some conversations lasted over an hour. Your mother has been impersonating hospital staff calling Derek's victims to confirm medical emergencies and provide wire transfer instructions. I felt physically sick. What about my father? Your father set up multiple cryptocurrency accounts for converting the stolen money into untraceable digital assets. He's been the technical specialist in the operation. The documents painted a picture of an organized criminal enterprise with Derek as the front man, my mother as the emotional manipulator, and my father as the money laundering specialist. Carmen, this is federal crime territory. Multiple federal crimes: wire fraud, elder abuse, organized fraud, conspiracy, money laundering, and probably tax evasion. Are the authorities already investigating? The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit has been building a case against romance scam networks operating out of the Pacific Northwest. I believe your brother's operation is connected to a larger investigation that's been ongoing for 8 months. Carmen pulled out her laptop and showed me an FBI press release from 6 months earlier. Federal Task Force targets elder fraud networks. The description matched Derek's operation perfectly. What does this mean for me? It means you have leverage. Your brother's identity theft against you is the least of his legal problems. If you cooperate with federal investigators, you can probably get immunity from any financial liability and help send him to prison for a very long time. What about my parents? Depends on their level of cooperation. If they provide evidence against the larger network and make full restitution to victims, they might avoid prison time. Carmen handed me a business card. This is Special Agent David Chen from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. I called him this morning and he's very interested in talking to you. How quickly could this move forward? Elder fraud is high priority for the FBI. If you're willing to wear a wire and get your family to admit their involvement on tape, they could arrest Derek within a week. I sat in Carmen's office for a long time staring at the evidence of my family's crimes. Part of me felt vindicated. I wasn't crazy paranoid or mentally unstable. Derek was a career criminal and my parents were his accomplices. But another part of me felt devastated. These people had raised me, claimed to love me, and taught me about family loyalty. Now I was looking at evidence that they had spent years destroying the lives of innocent elderly people, while simultaneously destroying my financial future. Carmen, if I cooperate with the FBI, what happens to the romance scam victims? Asset forfeiture laws allow the government to recover stolen money and return it to victims. Your family's cryptocurrency holdings, real estate, and other assets would be seized to provide restitution. And my credit score? Identity theft victims who cooperate with federal investigations typically get expedited credit repair. You could have your score restored within 6 months. I thought about my dream house, the mortgage payments. I couldn't afford the life I had worked so hard to build. What do I need to do? Carmen smiled grimly. You need to call your family and arrange a meeting. Tell them you want to work out a payment plan for Derek's debts. Get them to admit everything on tape. And then you help the FBI put them in federal prison where they belong. As I drove home that afternoon, I felt something I hadn't experienced in weeks: hope. Not just hope for saving my house or restoring my credit, but hope for justice. My family had spent years teaching me that Derek's needs came before everyone else's, that his feelings mattered more than other people's rights. It was time for Derek to learn that actions have consequences even for the favorite child. I pulled into my driveway and looked at my beautiful Victorian house, the place I had earned through honest work and careful saving. Tomorrow I was going to start fighting to keep it. But tonight I was going to plan the conversation that would bring down my criminal family once and for all. Tuesday morning I met with Special Agent David Chen in a coffee shop near downtown Portland. He was younger than I had expected, probably in his early 30s, with the kind of quiet intensity that made me believe he was very good at his job. Miss Johnson, we've been tracking the romance scam network your family is involved with for almost a year. Your cooperation could help us shut down the entire operation. He showed me photographs of Derek's elderly victims: Dorothy Henderson, a 72-year-old widow from Tampa who lost $38,000 believing Derek needed cancer surgery; Margaret Foster, a 68-year-old retired teacher from Dallas who sent $25,000 for Derek's fake military deployment expenses; Helen Martinez, a 75-year-old grandmother from Phoenix who liquidated her retirement savings to help Derek's imaginary family emergency. These women lost their life savings, Agent Chen explained. Some are now living in poverty because they trusted your brother. Looking at their faces, I felt the last traces of family loyalty dissolve completely. Derek hadn't just stolen my identity. He had destroyed the lives of vulnerable elderly people who were trying to find love and companionship in their final years. What do you need me to do? Arrange a family meeting at your house. We'll wire you for audio and video recording. Get them to discuss the romance scams, the identity theft, and the money laundering operation. How much detail do you need? Enough to prosecute all 3 of them on federal charges. Names of victims amount stolen methods used to transfer money and admission of intent to defraud. Agent Chen handed me a tiny recording device disguised as a pendant necklace. This will capture everything within a 20-foot radius. We'll have agents positioned outside your house in case anything goes wrong. Could this be dangerous? Your family members aren't violent criminals, but cornered people sometimes make desperate decisions. We'll be monitoring the entire conversation. That evening, I called my parents and Derek to arrange a family meeting for Thursday evening. Juliana, we're so glad you want to work this out. My mother said, relief evident in her voice. Dr. Mitchell says that family therapy works best when everyone commits to honest communication. I'm ready to be honest about everything, I said, and I meant it more than she could possibly know. Thursday evening at 6 o'clock, my entire family gathered in my living room. Derek looked nervous, constantly checking his phone and glancing toward the windows. My parents sat stiffly on the sofa, clearly uncomfortable, but trying to project confidence. I've been thinking about everything that's happened. I began feeling the recording device against my chest. I want to understand exactly how we got to this point. Juliana, we're just grateful you're willing to be reasonable, my father said. Derek helped me understand your business ventures. The restaurant, the motorcycle dealership, the car flipping operation. How did those work? Derek shifted uncomfortably. They were legitimate businesses. I had solid business plans. But you used my credit and identity without my permission. You wouldn't have agreed to help, and I was desperate. Desperate because of what? The divorce, the financial pressure, the depression. Agent Chen had coached me to push for more specific details. Derek, I know about the cryptocurrency investments. If you had $200,000, why did you need business loans? Derek looked at my parents for guidance. My mother nodded almost imperceptibly. The crypto money wasn't available for business investment. It was earmarked for other projects. What kind of other projects? Another glance at my parents. Helping people. Charitable work. Derek. I said gently, I need you to be completely honest with me. What kind of charitable work? The silence stretched uncomfortably long. Finally, my father spoke up. Derek has been helping lonely seniors find companionship. Sometimes they need financial assistance. Seniors like Dorothy Henderson. Derek went pale. How do you know about Dorothy? And Margaret Foster, Helen Martinez. My mother's face crumpled. Juliana, you don't understand the situation. Then explain it to me. Derek started crying the same manipulative tears he had used his entire life. These women were lonely. I was giving them hope, companionship. In exchange for their life savings, it wasn't supposed to go that far. I was going to pay them back. With what money? With the cryptocurrency gains? With the business profits? Agent Chen had been clear that I needed explicit admissions of criminal intent. Derek, did you use fake military identities to trick these women into sending you money? It wasn't tricking. I was providing emotional support under false pretenses. The emotions were real. My mother finally broke down completely. We were trying to protect Derek. After the divorce, he was talking about suicide. When he came up with this plan to earn money by helping lonely women, we thought it was better than losing our son. Mom, you helped him receive money transfers from elderly fraud victims. We helped him manage a companionship service. Dad, you set up cryptocurrency accounts to launder money stolen from senior citizens. My father's composure cracked. Juliana, these women had more money than they knew what to do with. Derek was providing them with attention and affection. By lying about cancer treatments and military deployments, Derek's sobs became more dramatic. I never meant for anyone to get hurt. I was going to pay everyone back once the businesses took off. Which businesses? The ones you started with my stolen identity. Juliana, you have to understand, my mother pleaded. We were saving Derek's life. He would have killed himself without this income. So you destroyed other people's lives instead. The conversation continued for another 30 minutes with my family, providing increasingly detailed admissions of their criminal operation. By the time they left, Agent Chen had everything he needed for federal prosecution. Friday morning, the FBI raided Derek's apartment while simultaneously executing search warrants at my parents' house. Derek was arrested on charges of wire fraud, elder abuse, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. My parents were arrested as accomplices. The news coverage was extensive. Local television stations reported on the romance scam family that had stolen over $350,000 from elderly victims across multiple states. Derek's fake military profiles were shown on the evening news alongside photos of his victims. Amanda called me crying, begging me to recant my testimony. Juliana, you've destroyed our family. Mom and Dad could go to prison. Amanda, they committed federal crimes. They stole money from elderly people and destroyed my credit to cover their tracks. They were trying to save Derek's life. They were enabling Derek's criminal behavior while making me responsible for his debts. The legal proceedings moved quickly. Derek, facing a potential 20-year sentence, accepted a plea deal for 4 years in federal prison, with mandatory restitution to all victims. My parents, as first-time offenders who provided evidence against the larger romance scam network, received supervised probation and community service. The asset forfeiture process recovered most of the stolen money. Derek's cryptocurrency holdings were liquidated, my parents' house was sold, and their retirement accounts were seized. The victims received substantial restitution, though some would never fully recover from the emotional trauma of Derek's deception. My credit score was restored through the FBI's Victim Assistance Program. Within 6 months, my mortgage was refinanced at an even better rate than my original loan. The monthly savings allowed me to renovate my kitchen and start the garden I had always dreamed of planting. Amanda eventually apologized and began attending therapy to understand how our family's dysfunction had enabled Derek's criminal behavior. She started visiting me regularly, building the honest relationship we had never had before. My parents' marriage didn't survive the scandal. My father moved to Arizona to live near his brother, while my mother stayed in Portland and took a part-time job to pay her portion of the victim restitution. She sent me a letter 6 months after the sentencing, acknowledging that protecting Derek had caused enormous harm to innocent people, and to me. Derek's girlfriend Sarah left him the day he was arrested, taking his expensive gaming equipment and electronics as compensation for what she called emotional damages. 6 months after Derek's sentencing, I met Michael Rodriguez, the attorney who had initially advised me about identity theft options. Our professional relationship evolved into friendship, then romance, as we discovered a shared commitment to justice and integrity that my family had never demonstrated. In December, exactly 1 year after the housewarming party that nobody attended, I hosted a celebration in my beautiful Victorian home. Madison came with her husband and children. Carmen brought her partner and their teenage daughter. Agent Chen attended with his wife, bringing stories about how our case had helped prosecute an entire network of romance scammers. Michael helped me prepare dinner in my renovated kitchen, while Amanda set the table and shared updates about her therapy progress. Even my grandmother Rose attended, having finally acknowledged that protecting Derek from consequences had enabled years of criminal behavior. As we sat around my dining room table sharing stories and laughter, I realized I had found something more valuable than the family acceptance I had spent 32 years seeking. I had found people who valued honesty, integrity, and mutual respect. Qualities that had been absent from my biological family for years. The house that had once symbolized my isolation had become a gathering place for people who genuinely cared about each other's success and well-being. The dream home I had nearly lost to my family's crimes now represented everything I had gained by choosing justice over loyalty. Looking around the table at faces filled with genuine warmth and support, I understood that family isn't defined by blood or shared history. It's defined by people who show up when you need them, who celebrate your achievements without jealousy, and who support your growth without expecting you to sacrifice your integrity. Derek was serving his federal sentence in a minimum security prison in Oregon, participating in financial literacy programs, and writing letters of apology to his elderly victims. Some had forgiven him, others would never trust again, but all of them had received justice, and that knowledge brought me more peace than any family reconciliation ever could have. The greatest lesson I learned through this ordeal was that protecting yourself from people who claim to love you isn't betrayal, it's self-respect. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to refuse to enable their destructive behavior, even when that person is family. As my guests prepared to leave that evening, Michael helped me clean the kitchen while others gathered in the living room sharing final conversations. The house felt alive with authentic connection and mutual care. "Do you ever regret how everything played out?" he asked, drying dishes with the careful attention he brought to everything. I looked around my kitchen, then through the doorway at friends who had become chosen family, and felt nothing but gratitude for the courage I had found to fight for the life I deserved. "I regret that Derek hurt so many innocent people. I regret that my parents chose enabling over accountability, but I don't regret standing up for myself or helping those elderly women get justice. Even though it meant losing your biological family, I didn't lose family, I found it. Michael smiled and pulled me close, and I felt the deep contentment that comes from building a life based on honesty rather than obligation. Outside, snow began falling softly on the garden I had planted with my own hands in soil that belonged to me around a home I had earned through honest work. Inside, the last of my guests were saying goodbye, promising to return soon, expressing gratitude for the evening and for each other. For the first time in my adult life, I felt completely at peace with my choices and completely confident in my relationships. I had learned that real family shows up not just for celebrations, but for justice. Not just for convenience, but for courage. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. As Michael and I turned off the lights and headed upstairs to the bedroom in the house I had nearly lost but ultimately saved, I reflected on how much had changed since that lonely evening when my family abandoned my housewarming party. I had discovered my own strength, found genuine love, and built a community of people who valued integrity above convenience. Most importantly, I had learned that justice isn't something you wait for someone else to deliver. It's something you create through your own courage to stand up for what's right. The dream house had become so much more than I had originally envisioned. It wasn't just a place to live, it was a sanctuary for authentic relationships and honest living. It was proof that sometimes losing everything you thought you wanted leads you to everything you actually needed. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing what's right? Sometimes protecting yourself means setting boundaries with people who claim to love you, even when it's the hardest decision you'll ever make. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have reported your family's crimes or tried to work things out privately? Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you deserve relationships built on respect and honesty, and that standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Remember to comment below with your thoughts like this video if my story resonated with you. Subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming family drama, and please share this with anyone who might need to hear that they're not alone in dealing with toxic family dynamics. I wish you the courage to build the life you deserve, surrounded by people who truly want the best for you.